What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today. We're going to be chatting with Jason Wayman. He owns Megatron, who had a huge weekend at Scheid Diesel Extravaganza and pulled out an impressive win. We're going to talk to him about his truck and then also tips for sled pulling. So if you're looking to get into it, he's going to go through different setups and things that he's learned along the way to help you guys out. Before we get to it, though, we want to thank two of our sponsors. First is Diesel World Magazine. The Diesel World has crews traveling the country covering events, builds, new product releases, going behind the scenes. Make sure you go to dieselworldmag.com, bookmark it. You can see updated information, tons of different things, and you can listen to the Diesel podcast on the Diesel Mag website. The other sponsor we want to thank is PPEI. Those guys are doing a ton of cool things. Like they are hitting the ground running with the 3-liter Powerstroke. They've got tunes for the 5-liter Cummins, and then the 6.7 Cummins, 6.7 Powerstroke, the LMLs, all the way back to, the LB7 and 5.9. So those guys, you're looking for tuning, whether it's for a tow truck, race truck, anything in between, go to ppei.com and check them out. All right, we're going to get to the podcast talking about Megatron and going to Scheid and pulling out a win.
I'm Ryan Milliken from Hardway Performance, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Demetri Miller with No Zone Diesel.
This is Anthony Rings from XDP.
This is Jaron Holder from Holderdown Performance.
Corey Willis from PPEI.
I'm Drew with D&J Precision Machine.
I'm Pinky.
And you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
Diesel Podcast.
You're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
The Diesel Podcast, the one and only Diesel Podcast.
Jason, it is great to have you on the Diesel Podcast today. We wanted to talk about your truck, your business, what you do in diesel performance, your experience at Scheid Diesel. There's so much to get to, but we wanted to welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you.
Now, as far as diesels, in general, what, for our listeners out there, what do you do in the diesel performance industry?
Well, I started my small shop 2.5, 3 years ago. Call it No Wayman Diesel. Kind of split up my last name, Wayman, and just threw it in there. Kind of clever, kind of catchy, I thought.
Yeah.
But diesel-wise, anything from minor repairs to stripping the engine clear down, preferably a Cummins, stripping it down and rebuilding it the way the customer wants it.
I saw a post on your company Facebook page where he said the customer walked in, wanted 1,000 horse, and that's what you gave him. It looked like a really cool build.
Yeah, that build was pretty fun. He's a very good customer and became a pretty good friend of mine. He's also related down the line a little ways to my wife, so helped him out pretty good. We put some twin turbos on there, bigger injectors, and then put a motor in there from Freedom Racing engines.
Are 5.9, 6.7s, is that mostly the kind of trucks you're working on, or do you do a little bit of everything?
I do a little bit of everything. I mean, I've done Ford rebuilds and Powerstroke rebuilds. I haven't rebuilt any Duramaxes yet, but I'm sure it's soon on the list. Yeah,
I'm sure it'll pop up at some point where they're gonna need a built engine. And where's your shop located at?
My shop is located by a little town called Novinger, Missouri. It's northeast Missouri, close to Kirksville. We are 2 counties down from Iowa and 3 counties over from Illinois.
Yes, yeah, we had seen some posts on social media. I mean, Scheid Diesel Extravaganza is probably the Super Bowl of diesel events and sled pulling, and it's such an awesome show with the trucks, the vendors, all the people that show up. And I had a few guys message us, and they're like, you need to get Jason on and talk about Megatron. I'm like, all right, I'm going to see what I can do. And that truck, the pull it was crazy. Like, there's so many videos of the win that you had. But I kind of wanted to start at the beginning and ask you, where did the truck start, and how did you get it to where it is now, where you go to Scheid and you come out with a win?
Well, this truck started at a local dealership here in Kirksville. Driving by one day, and there was this pretty blue mega cab there, and I've been wanting a truck kind of like that, and it had a manual in it, and I decided I had to have it. That was back in 2008. So purchased the truck, made it a daily driver, drove it for a couple years, modified it here and there, then went and put some dual CP3s on it, bigger injectors and bigger turbo. And 2010, late fall, fall. There was a truck and tractor pull about an hour from my house, and I got the itch. I'm gonna go try this pulling thing out. So I talked to a couple of my modified 4x4 gas guys, and they gave me a few tips on what to do, so my rear end wouldn't twist up to where it didn't need to be. So I made those modifications, and then pulled them back out of the truck, drove the truck over to that pole, jacked it up with a jack, put the blocks in there, put a snubber in there for the rear end so it wouldn't twist up on me, and pulled, and I got first place.
And then the rest was history, right?
Yeah, the rest was history. I got first place. They gave me a trophy. I won like $200, but it was awesome. I got such a rush from just getting first place. I believe there was 20 trucks in the class, and I drove the truck there. So drove it home afterwards. At that time, I think I was still living with my parents. I was still in college, just graduated college, and I put the trophy on my headboard, and just left it there. And a few days later, my mother walked through and saw the trophy, and I got in a lot of trouble from that.
Did you keep the truck with that same setup for a while, or did you start changing it up right away? And
I kept the same setup for a while, just adding just a few power adders here and there. And in the winter of 2011, made some good friends up here in Cantrell, Iowa, at a shop called Midwest Truck Products. And we decided we're going to make it a full-out puller. So in the winter of 2011, we built an engine to what we thought it kind of needed to be for that time. And we were kind of one of the first ones to run EFI Live really competitively, besides a couple other ones out there, of course. And 2012, we debuted it and had a pretty good season that year.
Nice. And with the kind of the places that you would go sled pull, were you traveling all over? Were you staying, say, within a certain radius of where you were at, or how aggressive did you get with getting the truck out there in front of the crowds?
2012, I started traveling. I went to Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa. I believe I went to Kansas once or twice, and several in Missouri. So I was putting it out there pretty hard just because I was having so much fun pulling.
There's a lot of guys that, like, we have so many different diesel fans. Some guys drag race, some are into sled pulling, some are into a dyno competition. But one thing I've learned in chatting with a lot of them is the sled pulling crowd is so passionate. Not that the other ones aren't, but sled pulling, like the fans, the excitement, it's like a whole different side of diesel performance that, depending what part of the country people are in, they may not see. If you could explain that to someone out there who's like, what's this sled pulling thing? Should I try it? Or, maybe I should just stick to racing it at the drag strip. How would you sell them on going to the track, getting on the dirt, and having some fun with a sled?
Man, it's such a rush. It's really hard to explain. It's kind of like you're in the last inning of the baseball game and you're up to bat and the score's tied, and you hit a grand slam, and at the end of that pull, it's just like hitting the grand slam. The crowd goes wild. You're in there fist pumping. You're excited. You're smiling. I've got several pictures floating around of a big old smile I've had before, just because it was ear to ear.
There seems to be a lot of classes too, so it's not like you have to have, you can do like work stock, or you can do things where you don't necessarily have to have a built engine and a ton of other things. That you can kind of ease into it, which is really cool, I think, for people trying to get into it and trying to say, is this something I want to do? Am I really passionate about it? And from the outside looking in, that seems like something that's really appealing to get people to the events, to get them in the stands.
Yeah, like you said, the work stock, it's kind of you drive your truck there, and as long as it has a decent hitch on it, and you have just a few small safety equipment deals on it, you can pull. And then you jump up to the 2.6 smoothbore class, which is a step below my class. It's more of the beginner class for the competition side of it, but it's still a cheaper class. And then my class, of course, where it's full out, we have open drive line, clear from the front to the back. You can put whatever drive line you want on there, and then build the motor as much as you can so it can flow through that smooth bore 3-inch charger.
So you can basically, start at almost a beginning level, and as you progress through it, you're learning the truck, you're learning obviously the rules, learning how to get proficient at it. So when you get to, say, the level you're at, you've had a ton of experience with sled pulling, the truck, the setup, all those sorts of things. So it's not like you're just, I'm going to build a truck and just jump in. It seems like really, really competitive, and especially at something like Scheid Diesel Extravaganza, where you're going against people who have a ton of experience and a ton of knowledge.
Yes, exactly. And our class is so close. Here, back in our series, we call it the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League Western Series. Any truck can win on any night out here. We're all just within inches of each other every night, it seems like. And out here, we all have basically the same experience. But then, going out to Scheid, I feel like I have a lot of experience, but there's other guys there that got way more experience than I do, and I'm always nervous about those guys just jumping out front and never catching them.
I noticed on your truck pictures, it's an awesome looking truck, and you've got a ton of decals on it from companies that support you. Can you go through some of the businesses out there, the guys that have helped you with this truck, put it together, get it to where it's at, and have kind of helped you bring together your vision for it?
Yeah, one of my biggest supporters and sponsors, I'd have to say, is ATS Diesel Performance, Ben Shaddy and his crew. He's bent over backwards for me for a few years now, and I feel like if it wasn't for him, there'd be no way I'm at the level where I'm at now, and with confidence that I have. And then you have Chase and Braden Fleece with Fleece Performance, and their sister shop, Freedom Racing Engine, providing me with an awesome engine. It's as strong as can be, like at the Scheid. We were first in third place the first night. Me and Jordan Kinderman, he got third. And then the second night, it was Jordan Kinderman with the first place finish with the Freedom Racing engine, and then me with the second place finish. So that just says, it says a lot about that company. They know what they're doing. They got their act together. And fueling-wise, we have some great injectors in there from S&S. They helped me out a little bit on them, and they seem to be doing awfully well for us. Then another good sponsor would be Val Air Clutch, Dan Valance. He's been with me since 2012. He's one of my longest sponsors on the truck. And if I ever have any issues with the clutch, any questions at all, I just call him direct on his cell phone, and he says, hey, this is what you need to do, or hey, send the clutch here. We'll get it fixed up right away and get you back out there. Then we have 21st Century Ag, Axis Seed. They're kind of a local seed company in our area, but they're branching out Iowa and Missouri. He's been with me through 2012 as well. They give me a little money every year, and it helps a lot. It goes towards whatever I can need to use it for. I'm trying to think. There's probably a couple others on there, but I can't think off the top of my head.
I mean, there's a lot of there's so much experience and expertise, just in the companies you were talking about there with all the guys, who, I mean, they've been in this since the start, pretty much, and being able to bring it all together into the truck that you have is really cool to see. And it's something I wanted to ask you about, so that the listeners out there can almost be in your position, is, when you go to Scheid Diesel and you're explaining it to someone like, okay, if you're only going to go to one event the whole year, why should they go to Scheid Diesel Extravaganza?
Oh man, that Scheid Diesel. I really love that event. It can get a little crazy and hectic after the event is over. I always kind of try to avoid that part personally, but I've been going since 2010. We actually drove the pulling truck out there in 10 and 11. Hold 6 of us, and there were 6 of us in there each time going out there to watch the pulls and then watch the drag races. And not only that, they have Show and Shine, which is ridiculous trucks to look at. You just can't believe the stuff that they have done to them and how amazing they really look. And then Vendor Alley, they're just pretty much every company there has something great to provide for any diesel pickup.
I've been out there a few times, and I remember just being overwhelmed at the start because we don't really have events quite that large out west here. And I go there, I'm like, where'd all these people? Like, it's just packed. And yeah, you look down like vendor row, and it's, you know, BD and ATS and TS and tons of other companies that are all right there, and Fleece is there, and you can go talk to Suncoast, or just so many different companies, and a lot of times the owners, you know, or the engineers, the guys are there, you can talk to them. But then when you make your way around towards the track is where it really, you're like, I'm not in Kansas anymore. When the stands are filled, the trucks are lined up, you can hear the noise, you know, it's like the excitement, you can almost feel it. You know, building, even if you're not looking at it, just listening to it. And the parking lot's packed and all that stuff, and it's an amazing event that if no one's ever been to, they definitely need to go to the next one. And you know, you can drag race or sled pull, you know, and see guys like yourself that are, I mean, probably the countless hours that you have into it, and you know, the time spent with, you know, the people that support you and the companies and everything is probably insane. You know, they just see your truck going down winning, but you know, how much goes into getting it prepared to do what you did, to go out there and take first place?
Oh, I can't even begin to count the hours and hours of time that I spend with this truck. Probably makes my wife jealous, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I spend so much time crawling over it, rolling under it, checking U-joint straps, any bolt I can get a wrench on. I like to check before any pull. Then I'll go through and cycle the fuel, make sure that it's fresh. I always keep a tally mark on my oil changes. I change the oil every 6 hooks. I do not go over that amount. It's just kind of a thing I've been taught to do, so that's how we do it there. Then check tire pressure every time before I leave the shop, make sure there's not just a weird hole or something in the tire. Always look at the edges on my tires, make sure they're still sharp. That's a big factor. The edges really make a big difference. I just put some new rear tires on it, actually, one pull before Scheid. They have extra sharp edges on them. The BFGs were starting to get rolled, so I sent them out the door. Then, of course, you just like to polish them up and make sure they look good. A lot of pride in them.
For sure. Yeah, it's a science. There's a few different guys I've talked to over the years, like Tony Rizzi. I know he's really into sled pulling, and some other guys that we've had on. And the science behind it is so fascinating with the chassis, just everything that goes into it. It's so cool, and that's why we feel so fortunate to have you on and be able to ask you these questions, because I think events like Scheid Diesel and other ones, people are starting, they're like, I want to sled pull, I want to go have fun, I want to do this, and kind of ease into it and learn the ropes and be able to hear, you know, what it takes to be successful at it. What advice would you give someone out there, no matter where they're starting, to not just have fun, but, you know, winning or placing in a certain range is what's going to give them that successful feeling where they're going to keep doing it? What tips would you give someone that's just brand new, looking to do it, you know, going to go out there for their first sled pull?
Well, at first, if you fail, never give up. Just always keep your head up in the air. Just never give up, and don't let anybody talk you out of it. If you want to do it, set your mind to it and do it. That's probably the best advice I could say.
I think that transcends all parts of diesel performance, you know, like what's taken place with the power jump that we've seen, and I'm sure like the guys that go into your shop are asking for higher power levels than they might have before, and they're like, I want 1500, I want 2000, I want 2100, is not accepting the limits that may have been there and pushing through it and getting diesel performance to where it's headed and where it is now.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You just always keep pushing the limits. And if something breaks, you just look at it with an open mind and be like, how can I make this better? And just try what you can and try and make it better and go out and test it at the next pull or next race. And if it doesn't work, just retry again. That's about it. That's what my truck is. It's kind of a test truck. If it didn't work, then like traction wise, we cut some bars off and put the bars in another blade. My chassis, we preloaded the frame to where it was already bent as much as we could get it, and then we welded the traction bars on so that there would be less of a chance for it to bounce as it's going down the track.
I mean, I know next year there's going to be people that are going to want to beat you. They're going to want to take the spot that you took this year in that competition. And then there may be changes you make next year. Things you do to stay in that position that you won, and the name that you've built and the truck that you've built for yourself.
Yes. But turbos are coming out constantly for our class. So little turbo makes 40 more horse. This turbo makes 60 more horse. But I've kind of stayed consistent through the years. When a turbo does come out in mid-season, it makes more horsepower. I stick with what I have because I know it's working. And but yeah, I'd be more than happy to show anybody the whole setup. We can crawl under it, check it out. Anybody that's wanting to start, I can show them the ropes if they wanted to. Show them some pointers here and there of what to do and what not to do because I tried it and I failed at it.
That's a great point, and I know people are going to listen to this and they're going to say, I want to experience what he talked about. What's the best way to get in contact with you, either on social media or calling you, or stopping by to visit if they're near you, in Missouri?
Well, you can always look me up on Facebook, just under Jason Wayman, and Facebook message me, or on the Diesel Facebook page, No Wayman Diesel. You can message me on there, or you can call my phone at 660-216-5453, or text me. I'm willing to talk about any time unless it's after 9 o'clock or later, then I try not to talk. The little girl likes to sleep.
I'm sure you get some calls, and there's a lot of interest out there for sled pulling and the science behind it, the excitement like you talked about. It was a great analogy with baseball in the bottom of the ninth, and that was something a long time ago when I was very unfamiliar with sled pulling, that I thought it was kind of like a sports like baseball playoff time where it's a little bit slower as far as like waiting and you're watching and these things going on, but that builds suspense versus say like football or some sport like that where it's real quick and it's just like it's over before you knew it. And that suspense is something that caught my attention that was different than the other competitive aspects of diesel performance. And I'm sure people are going to want to talk to you and ask you, where do I start? What do I do? How do I get this kind of power? What kind of tires do I use? All that sort of stuff. So if your phone starts ringing or your Facebook starts going crazy, I'm sure you'll be able to help people out there get started in the sport.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I don't know everything, but I know some things, and I know a lot of things that don't work. So I'm willing to help every way I can at that part, because failing is not fun, but I did learn the hard way a lot of stuff that did not work. But now I know many things that do work, and I try to, even competitors in my class around here, I give them a couple pointers here and there on how they're taking off out of the hole, or RPMs that they're taking off at, or just a couple small things here and there to try to help them out. I really don't care if I get beat from time to time. I mean, that's great. That's what makes competition. But I try to help them out any way I can.
Man, that's awesome. It was really cool to chat with you, today, and ask you questions, about your truck and about the sport and evolving in it. And then, your truck was the talk of Scheid Diesel. I mean, it was all over social media. And so we appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy, and sharing the knowledge that you did. And, next year we'll have to talk maybe beforehand, see how many, new sled pullers you might get out there, and see what you think before before the competition starts, and just talk about any changes that you've seen or new trends and things like that.
Yeah, no problem there. I'd be glad to talk. Sitting right now, I'm 4 points behind first place here in the Western Series. We have 2 points pulled left, with Jesse Knight leading with the Hillbilly Bone Unleashed. He's got a 4-point edge on me right now, but 2 points left. I'm hoping I can make it up and kind of edge him back to the second place spot. That would be great. But yeah, I'm willing to talk before next time, or sooner than that, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, wish you the best of luck. Best of luck with that, and we'll definitely be watching.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, make sure and head on over to dieselworldmag.com. Bookmark it. Check out what Diesel Mag is covering and all the different things that they got. And also PPEI. Just go to PPEI.com. Tuning for any diesel truck from 2001 to current. Those guys got it. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.